from being a black consciousness union
Right.
to a pro-ANC.
Charterist.
Yes, charterist. Now, I'm not quite sure of the story. Maybe you should get Cyril to come here and answer,
Maybe I should.
and answer your question as to what happened. What
Sifuna
happened in
ukwazi.
between.
Yes.
But when I was in COSATU, now Cyril, of course, the National Union of Mine Workers, as I said, was the largest union in COSATU. So the Central Committee, he sat in the Central Committee of COSATU. I also sat in the Central Committee as head of a department of COSATU, which was communication. So for a few months before he then got elected to become Secretary General of the ANC in 1991, I think. So yes, that. But after when the agreement was arrived at about when the elections were going to be, I decided I spent all my life in the ANC. I needed to do something different. So I decided not to go to Parliament. I was actually asked to go to the Gauteng Parliament. I said, no, I think I'll start a business.
What was that decision driven by?
I don't know who, but I was just told that.
No, I'm saying from your personal. Why would you not take a place in Parliament?
Well, first, I knew that the ANC had made a good deal, had gotten a good deal, but not enough to change the country.
They got a deal for themselves.
Well, not really. I mean, the deal gave a vote for all South Africans. So it wasn't just for the ANC.
But the deal also made them quite comfortable economically.
Well, I guess so, yes. So my assessment of the situation then was that there's going to be a lot of infighting in the ANC, within the ANC, because they don't have enough space in the economic side of things, because all the negotiations were really about the political side of life, and so hence the constitution. But now, once you have the political rights, then what happens to your economic welfare? How does that? So I thought, this is not gonna be work, and I really didn't want to spend my time now fighting within the ANC about economic issues, which I could see they were coming. So I decided, let me go ahead and learn something new. So I went out and set up a media company. Anyway, I had been a media consultant to the ANC to try and set up an ANC newspaper. And that was sabotaged by the white newspaper companies, that effort, because they control, South Africa is controlled by very powerful interests. So they control the distribution and they control the printing. So if we set up then as ANC a newspaper, they had to distribute it and they had to print it. So they were in fact in real control.
Yeah.
Because one of them told me, okay, Mr. Mbeki, if we print your newspaper, it was supposed to be a morning daily newspaper. And they were the owners of the Sowetan those days. So he told me that, well, we'll have to start printing your paper at 4 in the afternoon. But this is supposed to be a morning paper for the following day, which meant they could take all my stories and put them in the Star in their newspaper, which was the Star, because that's who I was negotiating with. So the whole thing didn't work out.
But even the whole Sowetan being owned by white people.
Oh yeah, no, it was owned by a company called the Argus newspapers.
Yes.
And the Argus newspaper was actually a group, if I'm not mistaken. was set up by Cecil Rose, the big exploiter in the diamond world.
Owabulala abantu abamnyama goed as games and sports.
Yeah. So that he set up the Argus newspaper in the Transvaal in the 19th century. And
so when you say, let's go back to Kodesa, because now we want to talk about the implications and how we're getting to today. And so can you unpack the whole story for us? Where did we go wrong? And
okay. You see, what happened in South Africa, especially now in the 80s, let's say from the 70s onwards, the black people started to be more organized. And they set up trade unions like the National Union of Mine Workers. And then there were lots of strikes that started to happen. So these were destabilizing the economy. So the big capitalists went to the nationalist government, the Afrikaner nationalist government, and said, look, this apartheid thing of yours is causing trouble for our profit making. Now, you have to find a way to get rid of it.
So it wasn't even about black people dying.
It was about their profit, that the strikes in the mine. Cyril, for example, led a huge strike in the mining industry, I think in 1987. The mining industry was shut down.
And then fast forward Marikana.
Oh, well.
The irony?
It is incredible, right? He led one of the biggest strikes by black mine workers. The first largest strike was led by a man called J.B. Marx. J.B. Marx was from the Communist Party, and he was sent to organize the mine workers during the Second World War. And then they went on strike in 1946. And of course, the strike was repressed by the regime. Then the next biggest strike in the mine was the one led by Cyril in 1987. And, well, as you point out, then one of the biggest slaughters of mine workers was also by Cyril's company, which was Lonmin. So you can see the evolution of
the revolutionary.
You can see this evolution of this revolutionary, counter-revolution, you name it.
What do you think happens? Because it does seem to play out like that, where people can be bought, or what's happening with black revolution?
What's happening with the black revolution? Well, it's we will have to spend the whole week talking about that. You see, there were a number of influences that changed, that led to the negotiations. The first one, of course, were the liberation movements, which were recognized by the Organization of African Unity, which was the ANC and the Pan-Africanist Congress. So those were the leadership of the African people. Those two, they were the main leadership.
Yes.
And then we had the civil society, like the trade unions, which were supportive of the liberation movements.
About upline, when things like that?
No, I'm talking about the trade union.
NUMSA
and all the others. So that was one stream of resistance, of attack against the apartheid system. The other stream was international support for the black struggle in South Africa, especially students in the United Kingdom, in the United States, the churches in the United States, and so on. And so they put pressure on companies in their own country to disinvest from South Africa, so that they don't make profit from exploiting of black people in South Africa. So, for example, what is today First National Bank used to be Barclays Bank, which was a British bank. But a lot of the bankers in Barclays Bank in the United Kingdom, which was its home, were students. So the students pressurized Barclays Bank to sell its shares in South Africa and disinvest from South Africa.
What?
And you got the same thing in the United States. Coca-Cola, for example, was pressurized to sell its operations in South Africa, which it sold to South African breweries. And so that was the other pressure. And then you had countries like India, China refusing to trade with South Africa. And other African countries. So there were a multiplicity of pressures. And then one of the biggest changes was the Americans. There was a huge campaign for the United States to put sanctions on South Africa because, of course, they didn't have any sanctions. But the people were mobilized by anti-apartheid organization. And eventually, Congress decided to pass a law imposing sanctions on South Africa. And so what became clear to the guys in South Africa who were making all the money and all the profit was that their little house of cards was going to collapse. So the businessmen said to P.W. Botha, who was then president, that, look, man, this thing has got to change. So on the trade union side, for example, Botha set up commissions of inquiry as to what to do about the trade unions. Should we legalize them so that their contracts are binding and so on? So a famous commission called the Vian Commission made a recommendation that the black trade unions must be legalized so that their contracts with the management are legally binding for both sides, for both the management and the trade union. So then you start to have business, especially big business, getting involved in demanding scrap. Apartheid is now...
It's making us broke.
It's making us broke. So there was a man who was the head of Anglo-American at the time, the biggest company in South Africa. Owned gold mines, diamond mines, banks, you name it. So I think when was it? 1985. He said, we have to talk to the ANC directly. But the ANC was a banned organization. So he said, I'm going to talk to them because we have to come to some understanding as to where are we going. So the then President P.W. Botha said, if you go here and go to Zambia to talk to the ANC, remember you are breaking the law. And he threatened to shoot down the aircraft. But the man went anyway with a business. So they negotiated with the ANC. Now, for your next one of your podcasts, you should try and get the guys who were at that meeting in Zambia in 1985 or whatever, I think it was around there, to explain to us what did they negotiate with Anglo-American.
Who are these people? I know one of them.
Yeah, one of them was my brother. Another one, I think, Chris Ani, he's no longer with us, but I think Paulo Jordan was there. So you can, I think Penuel Maduna, if I'm not mistaken, they are still around.
Okay. So there's a meeting that happened with Botswana with Anglo-American.
In Zambia.
In Zambia,
yeah,
that we need to unpack.
So that needs to be because then you need, did the ANC have some kind of an agreement or understanding? Because now Anglo-American was now pressurizing the apartheid regime to scrap apartheid. So in a way, they were more or less on the same side.
Yes.
But for different reasons.
Yes.
But so...
Because when you speak of Anglo-American even, we just learned that the gold reserves are supporting the unemployment fund in England.
Oh, are they?
So in England, they get an unemployment stipend, and it's from our mines, basically.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
While we are just...
Yeah, no, the English have been cheating us since they came here in 1795.
So then what happens, because I want us to get to now post-94, because we eventually have to get to the point of now we're at MK.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
you mean the new party?
The new party.
Oh.